Are drivers required to know what the streets are that they stop at?
I would like the operator to answer that so that I don't give any...
Because I've been on a bus where the monitor thing has not been working.
Yes, okay,
And the guy did not know what streets he was going on.
Yes, and they are supposed to actually report it when the accessible feature is not working.
Okay.
Okay, so yes, they are. When it comes to, you know, you saying, oh, I'm getting off at, say, Bathurst Station,
Right.
it's not mandatory that they tell you when to get off, only because there could be potentially 50 people on the vehicle that ask the same question, and just being human, they could potentially forget. But as far as if the internal announcements are not working, yes, they are required to read them out. Yeah. So,
Yes, we are obligated to call out not only the major stops, but every single stop. But if my stop announcements aren't working, the first thing I'll find out from passengers is if this display is working as well. Because if it's not, and I'm calling out my stops, someone may be hard of hearing. They may not hear me call out the stops, and this display isn't working. So I'll usually try and get another bus as soon as possible. But it's just a basic human right, because not everyone can see what is going on around them. If it's a rainy day and the windows are all fogged up, how are you supposed to see where you're going? And you don't want to get off 10 stops past your stop because the operator wasn't calling the stops. And quickly, just to add, if you are having difficulty hearing, say you're at the back of the bus, you could always just try and let the operator know that you are having difficulty hearing the stops being called.
and you have the option to turn up the volume?
No, what we can do, we have a PA.
Okay.
So we can just call through the PA system that will broadcast through the entire bus rather than just sort of yelling it out. I've got a loud voice. I've practiced, so people can generally hear me at the back, but not everybody is as loud as I am.
Would you be able to, not to put you on the spot,
Yes.
would you be able to explain to customers what happens if the ramp is not working? Just in case anybody has that question.
Yes. If my ramp gets stuck, quite often, if they're not being used on a regular basis, they can get stuck. The first thing I do is we have this little bar here. So it allows us to, there's a little cord basically, so we can actually, as we're pushing the button, we can just loop it and pull it up, and sometimes that's all it needs is just that little nudge. If the ramp is not working, no matter what we try, what we would do then is I would apologize to the person waiting, and I would contact CIS, let them know that there is a passenger in a mobility device that is unable to board my bus because my ramp is not working. They will immediately call the bus behind me, let them know, and that operator will be prepared to pick up that passenger. So also, if you notice, we have 2 spots. There was one time, unfortunately, I had a third passenger that wanted to get on the bus and I was unable to accommodate them. So I contacted CIS. They called the bus behind me, had them come up a little bit sooner so that the person didn't have to wait as long. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Yes, it is a first come, first serve, policy. So if every single seat is full on priority seating and everybody needs one of those seats that's already in them, unfortunately you would either try and sit in another seat or you would then board the next bus, because you wouldn't be able to have a customer that needs the seat to move while you're boarding. So it is a first come, first serve policy in that sense.
What about strollers?
Strollers.
I've seen mothers put seats up, put the stroller where the wheelchair is.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I wasn't sure if I was still needed. If there's a passenger with a stroller, and they've lifted up the seat and then someone with a mobility device needs the area, I actually ask the person with the stroller to move down. I find generally,
I think it's great that the strollers do go in that spot.
yes, because then you've got some more room to move, yes. But I've never had anyone refuse, but I also don't exactly, I just think that I try to make people understand, let's look at it from the perspective of the person that's waiting out there. If that were you, you would want people to try and help. So.
And so the priority seating is for people with disabilities, for seniors, and then women that are pregnant. It just becomes a gray area, you know, if they're pregnant and they have a stroller, but hopefully humanity would kick in and then everybody would find a solution.
It's been
It's
13
gray.
years. I've never had someone refuse. You just have help people to, you know, look at it from the other side.
Yeah, you just have to nudge them.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Little dings.
Yes.
So the policy, you said first on, last off.
Yes.
I'd like to ask the driver, what do you do if there's a crowd of people, including one person with a mobility device?
As I'm pulling up to the stop, first of all, as I'm approaching the stop and I see someone with a mobility device, I make the announcement to the people. I'm going to need the first row of seats vacated. So they're already aware that they need to move. Then as I'm coming up, I have had people go to jump on. I kick them off. And I'm very blunt about that. I say, excuse me, can you please step off the bus? I'm going to load that person first. And at that point, I think they feel a little embarrassed. Not that I want to embarrass them, but not everyone is aware of the policy, and some people are just rushing.
So you're following the policy?
I do. Even if as they go to lift their foot up, I'm saying, excuse me, can you step back? I'm going to have that person load first.
And then just to add, so as I mentioned, I do the travel training for customers. So when I'm working with a customer with a disability, a mobility device, whatever it is, I go over some helpful tips of how you can best be seen by the operator when you are waiting at your stop. Because sometimes when there's a crowd of people, even though you're waiting for the same bus, it's very hard to enforce the first on, last off policy if the operator doesn't even see you. So there are certain tips of where to wait, how to wait, to look interested near the stop, and so all of those things are covered in travel training. There are lots of other information, helpful hints in the accessible handbook that I believe you got also.
I'm just trying to say, when I was on a big bus, I was mostly when my bus driver was putting the ramp down, and then it didn't lower down, so we went to the front seat and he tried to put it down.
Yes, and that's a good point though as well. People with walkers can use the ramp as well. It's not just for people with mobility devices. Even if you do not have a mobility issue, but you've got a heavy grocery buggy, I always let people know the ramp is for anyone that may need it. Not only that, we should never judge, we should never assume. I don't know if someone's got a bad knee. I don't know if someone's got a bad hip or a bad back. But I do like the fact that your driver tried to, you know, bring the ramp out for you, because
and
when we
plus they push me up if it can't go down.
Then they try and help you?
Yeah.
Yes, that's good. Yep.
Yeah.
That's good.
So whose job is to flip those seats so we can park in our wheelchair?
I always, when I pull up to the stop and I let the passenger know that I'm going to, you know, load them, I just say, just give me one moment, please. I'm just going to lift up the seat. I get out of my seat. But sometimes the other passengers will go and lift it first. So,
But it's the job
it is the job of the operator. It is not the job of the passenger in the mobility device, if that's what you're wondering.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Does anyone else have any questions?
How about putting it down? I see lots of times I get on the bus and it's still up.
It could be, now I can't speak for the other operators, I'm just guessing. Maybe they forgot about it. It could be that they're a little behind schedule and they didn't want to take that extra second to get out of the seat because they were afraid they were gonna miss the light. You know, we are supposed to put it down as
Well,
well.
if I know how to do it.
Yeah, I'll show you. I'll show you.
Yeah,
Yeah, when
yeah,
we
we
go
can show
around
you.
and try the features, I will show you how to do it if the
But,
time comes,
yes.
if you need to.
It is our job to raise it as well as lower it. Besides, it gives us a chance to get out of the seat, because I know for me, I do a straight shift, straight 7 to 8 hours of driving, because I live out of the city, so I don't want to do those split shifts. And any chance that I have to get out of my seat to stretch my legs is welcome. So,
I was explaining that when a customer presses the stop request in the mobility device section, it beeps twice. Would we be able
Yes.
to hear that? Would that be
yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Or
Will
a
it?
different tone.
Yes, so it's a different noise and it beeps
It
twice.
is. Yeah.
Okay, so did you have a question?
Can we hear any internal announcements? Are there any internal announcements?
With regards to.
Hearing like the GPS.
Oh, let's see. I just
Or
don't
even
think it will call
pre-recorded.
the actual stops.
Because it runs by GPS.
Yes. So as we're there's poles that actually have sort of a connection within it. But
Did everybody hear what the operator said?
hold on 1 second.
So it said, please stand back from the white line. So there is a white line where I'm standing right now, so it's not advised that you stand any closer to the front doors than this for safety. The operator was saying that with the bus stops, the bus has a GPS connection with it. That's how it knows when the next stop is coming. So because we are parked and not near the bus pole,
Right.
it's not going to read out the stop.
But what it would announce is the next stop is Birchmount. So you'll always hear the next stop is first. And that's just sort of because quite often there's conversations going on in the bus. And it's just sort of that extra step to get everyone's attention. Oh, okay, I need to hear what the next stop is. And if the stops aren't working, the operator should be doing the same thing. The next stop is Birchmount. If it's an express route, they should be saying, this is an express vehicle, the next stop will be Birchmount. So,
And just from the exterior of the bus, so as I said, every conventional bus in the system right now is fully accessible. So with that, the front of the vehicle has blue lights, which means it's accessible. So you will notice this also on the streetcar. So even though they look very different between the old and the new, the accessible lights on the front are going to be blue. They'll let you know that that particular vehicle is accessible. Okay, and then again, on the front of the bus, it's going to tell you the bus number and the destination of the bus. So is everybody okay to exit the vehicle? And for those that would like to practice getting on, if you want to practice having any device secured, the operator will be on standby.
So yeah,
Okay.
Desiree, and maybe what we'll do is we'll have everyone exit starting with the gentleman here at the front, and then we'll that way we'll board 2 at a time to come on, just so you never get a bus out of service like this and the chance to explore it at your own pace. So let's get everyone off so we can have some space, and then you guys Suji, then you guys will be able to just feel around, explore. We can practice securements if you want to see what that would be like to be fully secured. Taking your own time. So yeah, and Desiree and the operator and our instructor will be on board. We'll make sure you're safe and good.
And before anybody leaves, just because everybody has their own schedule, I will just briefly describe the travel training program again. So what it is right now we have a bus out of service. So this could be a different experience than when the bus is actually moving en route, out and about, as everybody nods. So with travel training, what it is it's the opportunity for a customer to pick a route, and then myself actually would research the route to make sure that it's fully accessible to that customer, whether it's elevators, whether it's minimal walking, whatever it is. And then the customer and myself together go and practice the route up to 4 times. Okay, so it's one-on-one travel training because not every, training or presentation meets everybody's needs. And then it can be practiced up to 4 times around the system. So it could be the bus, it could be streetcar, community bus, whatever it is. Okay, so that's what the travel training program is, in case anybody is interested. So I just wanted to give you the spiel, just in case outside it might be harder to hear. So if anybody has any questions about that, you can ask me.
Yeah, the travel training program is a really great program because you're able to connect one-on-one. You got Desiree Ann. So Desiree Ann's a certified orientation and mobility specialist. She knows a lot of tips and tricks beyond even what you heard today. And she can go out one-on-one with you on a route that's meaningful, so something that you travel on frequently. It's a great opportunity. It's just a pilot program right now with TTC, so we want everyone to take advantage of it while they can. And we have a few surveys for everyone to fill out as we're finishing up the day. So just make sure you see me to fill out a form just before you leave. That would be great. But otherwise, we just kind of corral here. We can give you guys your turn to explore the bus.